In March 2025, the archaeological world was rocked by an announcement that seemed straight out of an adventure film. A team of Italian and Scottish researchers claimed to have discovered something extraordinary beneath the ancient Giza pyramid complex in Egypt. Not just a chamber or a passageway, but what they described as a vast underground city. The potential discovery represents one of the most significant claims about the Giza plateau in decades. According to the research team led by Dr. Maria Conti from the University of Bologna and Dr. Alistister Fraser from the University of Edinburgh, advanced imaging techniques revealed a complex network of underground structures extending approximately 6,500 feet beneath the famous pyramids. To put that in perspective, that's more than 20 football fields laid end to end, all hidden beneath one of the most studied archaeological sites on Earth. The announcement came during an international archaeological conference in Cairo, where the researchers presented their preliminary findings to a stunned audience. Using a combination of satellite-based synthetic aperture radar, SAR technology, and seismic vibration analysis, the team created what they described as high-resolution three-dimensional images of these underground structures. The images they shared with the public showed what appeared to be an intricate network of chambers, corridors, and open spaces arranged in a surprisingly organized pattern. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the claimed discovery is the presence of 8 vertical cylindrical shafts, each approximately 12 feet in diameter. These shafts reportedly connected multiple levels of underground structures, suggesting a sophisticated engineering approach. Dr. Conti described the arrangement as reminiscent of a modern multi-story building, but constructed over 4,000 years ago. The team theorizes that these shafts may have served multiple purposes, from ventilation and movement between levels to potential astronomical alignment functions. The scale of the alleged underground complex is truly remarkable. If verified, it would change our fundamental understanding of ancient Egyptian capabilities and potentially the purpose of the Giza complex itself. Dr. Fraser suggested during the presentation that what we're seeing could represent an administrative center, a ceremonial complex, or even living quarters for those involved in pyramid construction and maintenance. Such a discovery would challenge the conventional view that the Giza Plateau was primarily a necropolis and ceremonial center. News of the discovery spread rapidly through both academic circles and popular media, with headlines proclaiming "Ancient Egyptian Underground Metropolis Found" and "Secret City Beneath the Pyramids." Social media exploded with theories ranging from thoughtful archaeological discussions to predictable claims about alien involvement. The story captured the public imagination in a way that few archaeological announcements ever do. However, the archaeological community's response has been significantly more measured. Within days of the announcement, questions began to emerge about the research methodology, the capabilities of the technology used, and the interpretation of the data. Dr. Zahi Hawass, former Minister of Antiquities in Egypt and one of the world's foremost Egyptologists, expressed strong skepticism, noting that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and calling for a thorough peer review of the data before drawing any conclusions. Other experts questioned whether SAR technology, even when combined with seismic analysis, could actually penetrate to the depths claimed by the research team. Dr. Sarah Parkak, a renowned space archaeologist, pointed out that while remote sensing technology has made remarkable advances, there are still significant limitations to what we can detect at such depths, especially through limestone bedrock. The Egyptian Antiquities Authority has taken a cautious stance, neither dismissing the claims outright nor offering endorsement. They've announced the formation of an independent scientific committee to evaluate the research and determine whether further investigation is warranted. No excavation permits have been issued based on these findings, though the research team has formally applied for permission to conduct targeted explorations. This measured response reflects the complex nature of archaeological discovery in the modern era. The Giza pyramids have been the subject of countless theories and claims throughout history, many of which have proven to be unfounded. Yet, the site continues to yield genuine new insights through methodical scientific investigation. As we await further verification and peer review of this potentially groundbreaking discovery, the questions multiply. If there truly is an underground complex of this scale beneath Giza, how did it remain undetected for so long? What purpose did it serve in ancient Egyptian society? And perhaps most intriguingly, what might be found inside if excavation ever takes place? The coming months may provide some answers as the scientific community works to separate fact from speculation in what could be one of the most significant archaeological discoveries of our time. The technology behind this potential discovery represents a fascinating evolution in archaeological research methods. Traditional archaeology often relied on physical excavation, literally digging into the earth to uncover buried structures and artifacts. But what happens when the areas you want to study lie deep beneath massive ancient monuments? This is where remote sensing technologies come into play, allowing researchers to see beneath the surface without disturbing the structures above. Synthetic aperture radar (SAR) technology, the primary method used by the Italian-Scottish team, works on a principle that might seem like science fiction. Unlike optical imaging that captures visible light, SAR systems emit radio waves that penetrate the Earth's surface and bounce back when they encounter different materials. By analyzing these returning signals, researchers can create detailed images of subsurface features. What makes the Giza research particularly innovative is the specific application of satellite-based SAR. The research team employed data from the European Space Agency's Sentinel-1 satellite constellation, which carries advanced SAR instruments capable of collecting data regardless of weather conditions or time of day. This satellite data was then enhanced through a process called interferometric SAR, INSAR, which combines multiple radar images taken over time to detect even subtle changes or persistent features beneath the surface. However, SAR technology alone has limitations, particularly regarding depth penetration. This is where the research team introduced their methodological innovation, combining the SAR data with passive seismic analysis. By placing highly sensitive seismometers around the Giza plateau, the team collected data on naturally occurring vibrations in the Earth. These vibrations, caused by factors ranging from ocean waves to human activity, travel through different underground structures at varying speeds. Dr. Maria Conte explained their approach. We essentially created a fusion algorithm that combined the spatial resolution advantages of SAR with the depth capabilities of seismic analysis. This allows us to construct a three-dimensional model that revealed structures far deeper than either technology could detect on its own. This methodological approach represents a significant departure from previous technological investigations at Giza. In the 1960s and 70s, researchers used simple resistivity measurements that could only detect shallow subsurface anomalies. The 1990s saw the introduction of ground-penetrating radar, which improved depth capabilities but still couldn't penetrate more than a few meters in most conditions. More recently, muon radiography, which uses cosmic particles to create images similar to X-rays, has been employed to search for hidden chambers within the pyramids themselves. The team behind this potential discovery brings together expertise from multiple disciplines. Dr. Alistister Fraser's background in geophysics provides the theoretical framework for the seismic analysis, while Dr. Conte's specialization in archaeological remote sensing guided the SAR data interpretation. They assembled a team including data scientists, Egyptologists, and structural engineers to ensure a comprehensive analysis of the collected information. The methodology involved multiple phases over a 3-year period. First, they analyzed existing geophysical surveys of the Giza plateau to identify areas of interest. Next came the collection of new SAR data, specifically calibrated to detect subsurface density variations. The seismic monitoring network was then established, collecting data for 14 months to account for seasonal variations. Finally, the combined dataset was processed through custom machine learning algorithms designed to identify coherent structural patterns. This methodological rigor addressed one of the primary challenges in studying deep underground structures, distinguishing between natural geological features and human-made constructions. Limestone bedrock, which underlies the Giza plateau, naturally contains cavities and fissures that can appear as artificial structures in remote sensing data. The research team claims their fusion approach provides enough resolution to differentiate between these natural formations and the geometric regularity of constructed spaces. Another significant challenge involves accounting for the water table beneath Giza. Groundwater can significantly affect both radar penetration and seismic wave propagation. The research team addressed this by incorporating hydrological models of the area into their analysis, adjusting for seasonal fluctuations in groundwater levels. This technological approach used at Giza represents just one example of how modern tools are transforming archaeological research globally. Similar techniques have revealed lost cities in the jungles of Central America, mapped entire Roman settlements beneath agricultural fields in Europe, and identified ancient irrigation networks in the deserts of the Middle East, all without moving a single shovel of soil. If verified, this methodology could establish a new standard for non-invasive archaeological investigation, particularly at culturally sensitive sites where excavation might be impractical or inappropriate. It represents a shift towards more sustainable archaeology, where discovery doesn't necessarily require disruption of the site itself. However, the ultimate test of any remote sensing technique is ground truthing, verifying the findings through targeted physical investigation. This verification step remains to be completed for the Giza underground city claim and represents the critical next phase in determining whether these technological methods have indeed revealed one of archaeology's most significant discoveries. The path from announcement to accepted discovery in archaeology follows a rigorous process designed to separate genuine breakthroughs from misinterpretations or wishful thinking. This process is particularly stringent for claims of this magnitude. The alleged underground city at Giza now faces a multi-stage verification journey that could take years to complete. The first crucial step is peer review of the original research. The team has submitted their methodology and findings to several prominent archaeological journals, where experts in remote sensing, Egyptology, and archaeological geophysics will scrutinize every aspect of their work. They'll examine questions like, does the technology actually work as described? Were the data processing methods valid? Are there alternative explanations for the patterns observed? Dr. Fatima El-Badri, an independent archaeologist specializing in Egyptian subterranean structures, explained the challenge. Peer reviewers will be looking for rigorous elimination of false positives. Natural geological features can create remarkably regular patterns that mimic human construction, especially in limestone environments like the Giza Plateau. Alongside formal peer review, the discovery claim has ignited intense debate within the archaeological community. Some experts point to historical records that might support the existence of extensive underground structures. Ancient texts occasionally reference halls beneath the sacred mounds and chambers of preparation beneath the eternal houses. However, these passages have traditionally been interpreted metaphorically rather than literally. Others note that previous claims of dramatic discoveries at Giza have repeatedly failed to materialize. In the 1990s, seismic surveys suggested a chamber beneath the Sphinx, but subsequent investigation found no such feature. In 2017, a void detected within the Great Pyramid using muon radiography generated tremendous excitement, but further analysis suggested it might be a previously known stress-relieving feature rather than a secret chamber. The historical context of pyramid research also includes numerous fraudulent and misrepresented claims, from Napoleon-era treasure hunting to modern pseudo-scientific theories. This legacy of speculation makes the scientific community particularly cautious when evaluating new discoveries at this iconic site. If verified, however, the implications of this discovery would be profound. Dr. James Harrington from Cambridge University's Department of Ancient History explains, an underground complex of this scale would fundamentally change our understanding of Old Kingdom capabilities and resources. The engineering knowledge required would exceed what we've previously attributed to 4th Dynasty Egypt. The discovery might also transform our understanding of the purpose of the Giza complex. Rather than solely a necropolis and monument to deceased pharaohs, this might have functioned as an integrated ceremonial, administrative, and possibly even residential center with both above-ground and below-ground components. This would align with emerging views of ancient Egyptian sacred sites as multifunctional spaces rather than single-purpose monuments. The verification process now moves towards the critical ground truthing phase. The Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities has outlined a potential 3-phase investigation plan, pending review by their scientific committee. The first phase would involve minimally invasive techniques like targeted core sampling and microcameras inserted through small boreholes. Only if these preliminary investigations yield promising results would more intense exploration be considered. Dr. Samira Naguib, spokesperson for the ministry, emphasized the caution that would guide any physical investigation. We must balance scientific curiosity against preservation. These monuments have stood for over 4,500 years. We won't risk damaging them in pursuit of answers, however intriguing the questions might be. Any excavation at such a significant site also involves complex political, cultural, and ethical considerations. The pyramids aren't just archaeological sites, they're powerful symbols of Egyptian heritage and identity. Decisions about investigation methods require balancing international scientific interest with national sovereignty over cultural heritage. The timeline for verification remains uncertain. The peer review process typically takes months, while planning and approval for physical investigation could extend to years. During this time, the archaeological community will continue analyzing the available data and develop hypotheses that can be tested if excavation proceeds. For the public, this situation offers a rare window into how archaeological knowledge actually develops, not through instant discovery and immediate certainty, but rather a careful process of hypothesis, testing, verification, and interpretation. The Atlantean Technology Vault hypothesis. This narrative suggested the underground structures were built by survivors of Atlantis who brought advanced technology to Egypt around 10,000 BCE. Proponents pointed to alleged similarities between the described underground chambers and Plato's accounts of Atlantis, though these connections relied on selective interpretation of both the research findings and Plato's texts. This theory conveniently ignored the complete absence of archaeological evidence for Atlantis as anything more than a philosophical allegory created by Plato. Perhaps the most technically elaborate conspiracy theory involved the ancient power plant claim, which had previously been applied to the Great Pyramid itself. According to this recycled narrative, the underground network functioned as part of a massive energy generation system. Social media creators produced slick graphics showing how the vertical shafts supposedly channeled Earth energy or served as some form of ancient reactor. One podcast, hosted by a former TV presenter turned alternative archaeological researcher, devoted 6 hours to speculating about electromagnetic properties of the underground chambers, despite the fact that no one, including the research team, had physically accessed these spaces. What began in fringe internet communities quickly spread into mainstream media. Cable news segments featured split-screen debates between archaeologists urging caution and conspiracy theorists making dramatic claims. Morning shows ran segments with chyrons like Ancient Aliens or Ancient Egyptians. Many outlets prioritized engagement over accuracy, presenting legitimate archaeological perspectives and unfounded speculation as equally valid viewpoints, what media scholars call false equivalency. The Giza discovery claim also revitalized older conspiracy theories that had circulated for decades. The Hall of Records theory, a claim popularized in the 1940s that a chamber contained ancient wisdom lies beneath the Sphinx, saw renewed interest. Similarly, stories about NASA astronauts supposedly discovering evidence of ancient Egyptian alien connections resurfaced, despite being thoroughly debunked years earlier. Dr. Emily Hawthorne, an Egyptologist at University College London, observed this phenomenon with concern. What we're seeing is a kind of conspiracy theory recycling program. Old debunked claims get repackaged and attached to new discoveries, giving them a fresh veneer of plausibility to audiences unfamiliar with their history. The underground city claim, whatever its ultimate scientific validity, has become a magnet for every fringe theory about ancient Egypt. When examining conspiracy theories about archaeological discoveries, especially ones as potentially significant as the Giza underground complex, it's crucial to separate speculation from evidence. Let's take a methodical approach to analyze these claims against what archaeology actually tells us. The ancient aliens built the underground city isn't much worth its salt when you slam it against scientific data. Proponents often point to the supposed impossibility of ancient humans constructing sophisticated underground networks. However, archaeological evidence demonstrates that ancient Egyptians were master builders not just above ground, but below it as well. The elaborate tomb complexes in the Valley of the Kings extend hundreds of feet into bedrock with precisely carved chambers and corridors. The catacombs of Alexandria feature multiple levels of underground chambers connected by carefully engineered passages. These structures weren't built by aliens. We have the tools, worker villages, and even ancient administrative papyri documenting their construction by human hands. When conspiracy theorists claim primitive humans couldn't have done this, they're revealing more about modern prejudices than ancient realities. Dr. Muhammad al-Said of Cairo University explains, ancient Egyptians had thousands of years to perfect their engineering techniques. They possessed sophisticated mathematics, abundant labor resources, and remarkable project management capabilities. What they accomplished was extraordinary, but entirely human. The Atlantean technology vault theory suffers from an even more fundamental problem. There is no archaeological evidence that Atlantis ever existed as a real place. Plato's dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, which first mentioned Atlantis, were philosophical texts using allegory to discuss his ideas about government and morality, not historical accounts. Dr. Jennifer Wegner, associate curator at the Penn Museum, notes, "It's one thing to speculate about an underground complex beneath Giza. That's at least a testable hypothesis. It's quite another to attribute it to a civilization for which we have zero archaeological evidence." Perhaps the most persistent conspiracy involves the ancient power plant theory, which suggests that the underground structures served as some form of energy generation system. This claim fundamentally misunderstands ancient Egyptian motivations and technological capabilities. The material record shows no evidence of electrical technology, generators, or even distribution systems. What we do have abundant evidence for is religious and funerary practices, precisely what mainstream archaeology suggests the pyramids were built to serve. A critical factor often overlooked in these sensational theories is how geological formations can create false positives in remote sensing data. Limestone, which forms the Giza plateau, naturally develops karst features, caves, sinkholes, and tunnel systems created through water erosion over millions of years. Dr. Helena Rodriguez, a geoarchaeologist who specializes in subsurface imaging, explains, what can appear as artificial rooms and corridors in preliminary scans often turn out to be natural cavities when physically investigated. This has happened repeatedly at sites around the world. If you had to choose between more investment in new sensing technologies or more meticulous excavation methods, the history of Egyptology includes several revolutionary discoveries at Giza that later proved to be misinterpretations or natural features. In 1992, a German robotics engineer sent a small robot up a shaft in the Great Pyramid and found what appeared to be a door with metal fittings, sparking worldwide speculation about hidden chambers. Later investigation revealed it was simply a stone slab with erosion marks and small copper components that likely served as ritualistic elements. More recently, the big void detected inside the Great Pyramid in 2017 using muon radiography generated enormous excitement. While this void likely exists, many archaeologists believe it's probably a stress-relieving feature similar to others found in the pyramid rather than a secret chamber of revolutionary importance. 4 years of additional research have yet to confirm any alternative purpose. These episodes reveal a common pattern in archaeological misinterpretations. Preliminary findings get reported sensationally before the slower, more thorough process of verification and contextual analysis can occur. Dr. Mark Lenner, who has spent decades mapping the Giza plateau, puts it this way: archaeology doesn't work at internet speed. Good science takes time, especially when dealing with structures of this age and complexity. Perhaps the greatest disconnect exists between pop culture portrayals of Egyptian archaeology and the reality of the field. Movies and television have conditioned audiences to expect secret chambers filled with gleaming technology, booby traps, or earth-shattering revelations. The archaeological reality, while no less fascinating, typically involves meticulous documentation of pottery fragments, architectural details, and organic remains that together tell stories about ancient lives. This doesn't mean mainstream archaeology has all the answers. Significant questions remain about specific construction techniques used at Giza. How exactly were the massive granite blocks in the king's chambers raised to that height? What specific tools achieved such precision in limestone cutting? These are legitimate archaeological mysteries that make the actual study of ancient Egypt fascinating without requiring aliens or lost super civilizations to explain them. What makes the conspiracy theories about ancient Egypt so persistently appealing, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary? The answer lies in fundamental aspects of human psychology and our relationship with the past. Archaeological conspiracies offer something emotionally satisfying that mainstream science sometimes struggles to provide. Simple, dramatic explanations for complex achievements, a sense of hidden knowledge, and narratives that connect directly to our modern lives. Studies in cognitive psychology have identified several factors that make archaeological conspiracies particularly sticky in the human mind. The proportionality bias leads us to assume that monumental structures must have equally dramatic origins. It feels intuitively wrong that thousands of ordinary humans with simple tools could create something as perfect as the Great Pyramid. There's also the appeal of hidden knowledge. Conspiracy theories offer the seductive promise that you might possess insights that academic elites either don't have or are actively suppressing. This psychological appeal gets supercharged by modern media ecosystems that reward sensationalism over accuracy. Social media algorithms don't distinguish between archaeological fact and fiction. They simply promote content that generates engagement. A TikTok video claiming hidden alien tech found under pyramids will almost always outperform one titled Methodical Analysis of 4th Dynasty Construction Techniques. These algorithms create feedback loops where users who engage with one conspiracy theory get recommended increasingly extreme content on the same topic. Dr. Catherine Wilkinson, who studied digital misinformation, explains, "What we're seeing is an attention economy that naturally favors the most dramatic archaeological claims, regardless of their accuracy. People who might start with genuine curiosity about ancient Egypt can quickly find themselves in echo chambers where aliens building the pyramids seems like fact rather than fringe speculation." Perhaps the most troubling aspect of archaeological conspiracy theories is how they consistently attribute remarkable human achievements to non-human sources. There's an uncomfortable undercurrent to many of these theories. The implicit suggestion that non-European civilizations could have created monumental architecture without outside help. Dr. Hassan Ibrahim of Cairo University observes, "When people look at Versailles or St. Peter's Basilica, they don't immediately suggest aliens must have built them. But the equally impressive achievements of ancient Africans are somehow considered impossible without extraterrestrial intervention." The irony is that the actual archaeological mysteries of Giza are far more fascinating than the manufactured ones. Legitimate questions that still engage archaeologists include: how exactly did pyramid builders achieve such perfect cardinal orientation without modern compasses? What specific techniques allowed them to level the 13-acre base of the Great Pyramid to within 2.1 centimeters? How did they organize the massive workforce required for such a project? These questions don't require supernatural answers. They invite us into the ingenuity of our ancestors. Ancient Egyptians did indeed create sophisticated underground structures, just not alien bases or power plants. The rock-cut tombs in the Valley of the Kings extend hundreds of feet into limestone cliffs with multiple chambers on different levels. The Serapeum and Saqqara features massive underground galleries housing enormous granite sarcophagi for sacred bulls. The Temple of Hathor and Dendera includes mysterious underground crypts with beautifully preserved reliefs. These genuine subterranean achievements demonstrate the remarkable capabilities of ancient Egyptian engineers working with copper and stone tools. When we look at what the builders of Giza actually accomplished with verified Bronze Age technology, the reality is more impressive than any conspiracy theory. They quarried, transported, and precisely positioned over 2.3 million stone blocks weighing an average of 2.5 tons each. They incorporated sophisticated architectural features like stress-relieving chambers above the king's chamber to prevent collapse. They created internal shafts aligned with specific celestial bodies, and they accomplished all this while creating art of extraordinary beauty and sophistication that has endured for more than 4,500 years. The genuine wonder of ancient Egyptian civilization isn't diminished by acknowledging it as a human achievement. It's enhanced. As Dr. Salima Ikram, one of Egypt's leading archaeologists, put it, when we recognize the pyramids as the work of human hands and minds, we're connected with our ancestors' remarkable capabilities. That connection across millennia is far more meaningful than attributing these structures to aliens or lost super civilizations. The potential discovery of an underground complex at Giza, if verified through rigorous scientific investigation, would indeed be revolutionary, but within the context of human achievement, not extraterrestrial intervention. As we await further research on this claim, we can appreciate the methodical work of archaeologists who combine cutting-edge technology with careful analysis to gradually expand our understanding of the past. In the meantime, we can marvel at what we know with certainty, that humans, very much like us, with our computers or power tools, created structures of such perfect precision and enduring beauty that they've inspired wonder for thousands of years. Their achievement doesn't need embellishment with conspiracy theories. The archaeological reality is extraordinary enough.
The Great Pyramid of Giza, as we call it now, was built in about a 10 to 20 year span that finished up in 2560 BC. It was built on the order of the pharaoh at the time, Khufu, and when it was completed, it was by and large one of the most grand things that the world has ever seen. So much so that it was later put into the designation of one of the 7 wonders of the world, and of those 7, it's the only one that has remained largely intact, mainly because of its construction and how it was built to withstand the desert weather and such. So what is the mystery, you might be asking me? That would be simple. How did they build it? No, really, look at the pyramids. That pyramid is 455 feet tall and 756 feet in length, and as you can see, it's made of pure stone, very heavy stone in fact via limestone and granite. Plus, given that this was 2560 BC, that would mean that many of the modern tools and tricks that would be used to do a modern construction would not have been available to them, which means that they had to work with hands and basic tools and such in order to get things to where they are right now. Now, sure, if you're looking at this in the objective sense, there are many man-made wonders that have been done by hand and have been done with great accuracy, such as the Great Wall of China. The difference, though, is that the Great Wall of China wasn't constructed out of massive blocks of stone that had to travel across a desert and then be lifted somehow onto each other hundreds of feet into the air. For the record, the tallest parts of the Great Wall is only 46 feet in the air, 1/10 of the pyramids in question. So when you think about it, and I mean really think about it, there's no way the Great Pyramids of Giza should have been able to be built by the ancient Egyptians. And yet, not only did they do it, they did it multiple times. There are 3 of the Great Pyramids of Giza, 2 being built after the main one. So even though they knew how to do it the second and third time, that still means they did it multiple times. And no one can really agree as to how it got done outside of a few things. Okay, let's talk brass tacks, okay? If you wanted to make a massive pyramid in Egypt, especially given the terrain, desert that you are building on, you'll need to have a lot of manpower in order to get it done, right? After all, we know based on estimates and historical records that the pyramid in full took about 10 to 20 years, which proves that this wasn't a simple task even with their construction techniques. It took time, a lot of it, which means that they were slow, methodical, and had a lot of manpower to deal with the problems of making the pyramids. There's been a lot of conflicting information, to be honest, about how much manpower was used to make the pyramids, as well as questions of whether only slaves were used in the building of them. Part of this is due to the Christian and Jewish Bibles, where in the book of Exodus it's noted that Moses killed a slave driver for punishing the workers of the pyramids too hard. However, further looks into the background of the construction shows that this may not be fully true. Slaves likely were used at some point in the 10 to 20 years, but remains found around the pyramids show that there were small villages that were there to house and feed the workers. Even more research has come to light to note that there may have been another kind of worker at the site known as the corvée of peasants. Basically, it's a kind of unpaid labor, but one that only lasts a few days. So, obviously, they could pull from all over Egypt, which they did, and then sent them home after a few days so that they wouldn't have tired workers and complaining people. Obviously, though, there were some dedicated specialists in everything. They needed stonemasons, stone cutters, painters, and more to get the materials to where they needed to be, protected how they needed to be, and shaped so that they could be stacked against one another perfectly. While it's impossible to know just how many people worked on it over the years, there's little doubt the numbers were in thousands or even tens of thousands, depending on how the cycles of work went. You almost have to wonder just what it would have been like and felt like to work in those conditions to try and build the pyramid. So, as I outlined earlier, the Great Pyramid of Giza wasn't just made of stone, it was made of heavy stone. In fact, over 170,000 tons of limestone make up the Great Pyramid of Giza. And here is where one of the biggest mysteries came into play. Where did the stone come from, and how did they get it to the pyramid in the middle of a desert? The first answer was honestly really easy to find, because rocks of all shapes and sizes have signatures and traces that can lead back to their point of origin. So, for the limestone, it was a mere 8 miles away from where the pyramid sits. Hard to travel to get to back in those days, but not impossible. However, the granite that is in the pyramid came from a much farther distance, say like 533 miles away in Aswan? Yeah, that's far, and for that period of time, it would be near impossible and improbable to go that distance just for a stone to be used in a pyramid. So how in the heck did they get it to do that? Well, they got clever. A scroll was found that revealed a key bit of the mystery to the pyramids. Mainly is that they used the Nile River to go and ferry the massive granite from Aswan to the pyramids. The same was done for the limestone, only they used canals that were there from the Bronze Age. Speaking of which, the canals were how they got the granite to the pyramid from the Nile River, as the pyramid itself wasn't next to the Nile. They used canals that would car 2.5-ton stone blocks to the pyramid itself. There was a port found near the pyramid that confirmed this. It was only a few yards away from the pyramid itself, so the rock was dumped off, the ship spun around and would go and do the next one. Imagine doing that ride for years. Regardless, that was a major part of the mystery solved, because it just didn't seem likely that the Egyptians could get the stones to the site, when in fact they had the perfect way to do it with minimal effort: water. So, we know how they got the stones to the site, that's cool, but how did they get them up the pyramid to where it had such a slope that it, well, looks like a pyramid? Sure, if we're talking about the foundation and the first few levels, it would be easy enough. Not perfect, but easy enough with the right amount of force. But as you go up, yeah, that gets harder and harder, not to mention steeper and steeper. There have been many theories as to how the stacking was done, and we may have an answer, albeit not a complete one. Basically, many people think that the Egyptians built ramps into the pyramids on the outside so that they could slide the blocks up the ramps and then into position. A recent find from 2018 backs this up, as ramps of a sort were found by a team of archaeologists, and they seem to indicate the use of both ramps and post holes to get the stones up. The system we have discovered would allow more people to exert force at one time, so it means you would be able to exert more force and move the blocks more quickly, said Dr. Roland Enmarch, a senior lecturer in Egyptology at the University of Liverpool and the co-director of the project that made the discovery, the Hatnub Survey. Whether this is true or not, though, is up for debate. The ramp theory is plausible, likely even, but there are still some mysteries around it, including whether it really was that easy to use the ramps to get the blocks up. Plus, while the team did find the ramps and their methods do date them back to the time when the pyramid was under construction, it doesn't prove that they were used. They even admitted that the slopes of the ramps were much steeper than anyone ever anticipated. So it could be the answer, but it's just not there yet to be confirmed. All right, here's another brain teaser for you. Let's say that the ramps were the way they got the blocks up. It seems logical, so we'll go with it. Now, once the blocks were up on the level they needed to be, how did they so perfectly place them next to each other without damaging them? Yeah, not so simple. Now, yes, I'm sure you're thinking, they push and pull them, which I'm sure they did on some level, but think about it from the large perspective. To do that without damaging the other blocks is really hard to do. And while the pyramid does look weathered, it's because of time and weather, not the construction that made it that way. How were they able to get such precision? I'm sure there is an explanation out there, but it's one that will be met with a lot of scrutiny. Oh, and speaking of precision, when you're making a pyramid, you need to have a certain shape, right? And it's easy to draw a pyramid in one dimension, but when it comes to making a full-on massive pyramid, it takes a lot of work to get the shape just right. So, how did the Egyptians do it with basically no errors? The pyramid is perfect on all sides, the slope is exactly the same. Which is odd, because you'd think there would be some major errors given that this was the first major pyramid of its size. Not the first pyramid though, just to be clear, of its time. That's why it's the wonder of the world, and not the ones that came before it. Yet, they seem to have no issues getting everything into place. Oh, and let's not forget, there are chambers within the pyramid, including some we've only recently found. There are tombs and voids and many other things that would have had to be worked around just right so that the stones could protect the inner chambers without ruining the overall shape and structure of the pyramids. Now, I'm sure we could think of a simple explanation. Good planning, map renders maybe, or even drawing out the lines in which to place the stones. Those could explain it, but whether that's actually true is uncertain.
So what is so revolutionary about the shape of the pyramid? Well, according to modern science, the pyramid shape is the most efficient in creating a resonant cavity, meaning that it can amplify and enhance certain frequencies of sound waves. I'll explain the details in a bit. This phenomena is known as the pyramid effect that Tesla discovered held unique acoustic properties. He believed that the pyramid could be used as a powerful transmitter of wireless energy, revolutionizing the way we transmit electricity. Let's look through his findings. Back in 1905, Tesla came up with something incredible, a way to harness energy from the air. He filled out a patent to protect his idea, which he called the art of transmitting electrical energy through the natural medium. His plan was to set up a network of amazing generators all over the world, using the special layer of electrically charged gas around the Earth called the ionosphere to collect energy. He thought of our whole planet like a giant battery with unlimited energy. And get this, he even came up with a cool-looking triangle-shaped design that he called the Tesla electromagnetic pyramid. Tesla's interest in the pyramid led him to experiment with his own pyramid-shaped devices, attempting to harness the pyramid effect for practical applications. While he never fully realized his vision of wireless energy transmission, his research laid the foundation for modern pyramidology studies, which explore the pyramid's potential uses in fields like energy healing, meditation, and even agriculture. Now get this, it wasn't only the shape of the pyramids that Tesla thought to be interesting. It was also their positions on Earth. He built two facilities, the Tesla Experimental Station and the Wardenclyffe Tower, inspired by the locations of the pyramids. He believed that the Earth's energy field could be harnessed and transmitted wirelessly from these sites. Unfortunately, due to resource limitations, he couldn't finish what he had in mind, but he sure did make a huge step for mankind evolution. But it doesn't end there. Tesla was a super quirky dude who was obsessed with the numbers 3, 6, 9. He thought they held the key to the universe and were somehow related to the pyramid shape and mathematical laws. Some people even think the pyramids were built to generate energy or send secret messages from an ancient civilization. We may never know the truth behind the pyramid's mysteries, but hey, it's fun to imagine possibilities. Science discoveries. Extensive studies show that when electromagnetic waves of a certain length interact with the pyramid, it can concentrate energy in its internal chambers and under its base. They plan to use this finding to design nanoparticles that can reproduce similar effects in the optical range. This could lead to development of sensors and highly efficient solar cells. The scientists were curious to see how the Great Pyramid would interact with electromagnetic waves of a similar length. They used numerical modeling and analytical methods of physics to estimate that resonances in the pyramid can be induced by radio waves with a length ranging from 200 to 600 meters. They then made a model of the pyramid's electromagnetic response and calculated the extinction cross-section. This helped them to estimate which part of the incident wave energy can be scattered or absorbed by the pyramid under resonant conditions. Finally, they obtained the electromagnetic field's distribution inside the pyramid for the same conditions. To explain the results, a method was used called multipole analysis, which is widely used in physics to study the interaction between a complex object and electromagnetic field. The Great Pyramid was of particular interest to the researchers because they were studying the interaction between light and dielectric nanoparticles. By varying the size, shape, and refractive index of nanoparticles, it is possible to determine the resonance scattering regimes and use them to develop devices for controlling light at the nanoscale. We have been hoping to use their findings to create pyramidal nanoparticles with suitable electromagnetic properties for use in nanosensors and effective solar cells. It's really exciting to think about the potential practical applications of these discoveries and the possibility of understanding the physics behind one of the world's greatest mysteries. And the pyramids weren't the only places where wireless communication might have thrived. Countries like Italy, India, and China with their granite obelisks could have harbored advanced wireless technology too. Could these civilizations have tapped into the power of electricity in ways we're only just beginning to comprehend? Scientists are diligently studying ancient artifacts, deciphering cryptic symbols and inscriptions, seeking answers about the ancient knowledge of electricity. It's a remarkable journey of discovery. As we connect the dots between the pyramids, Nikola Tesla, and the enigmatic world of wireless wonders, we realize that the past and the future intertwine in unexpected ways. It's a testament to humanity's insatiable curiosity and our desire to unlock the secrets of the universe. And that concludes our enthralling exploration of the pyramids, Tesla, and the captivating realm of wireless potential. We hope you enjoyed this journey as much as we did. Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more mind-blowing content. And remember, keep embracing curiosity, for the wonders of the world are waiting to be discovered. Until next time, stay curious.